Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles, virtually interviewing. This is fantastic. I love that we can still make it all happen. I'm delighted to have a returning alumni of New Filmmakers from our film festival this month, Nate, with his movie Sweatbox. How you doing, Nate?
I'm good. How are you?
Very, very good. Excited to be with you here today. But for those that haven't seen Sweatbox, let's take a look at a clip.
Look, certain people get to do things that most other people don't get to do. Or most other people.
But why did Luce and his mom leave?
Because they did it in Alexis.
So?
It's just, Lewis and his mom, we don't have home security, and somebody needed to make sure bad people don't get in here.
Then you said you'll die if you go outside.
Yeah, well, people are stupid. And that's why they'd go outside.
But if we help them, they won't have to.
Not really a position we're in, but.
I'm still thinking about your film. I really am. It was brilliant. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Well, thank you, first of all. Sweatbox is about two kids who are trapped in a lethal heat wave while after they're in Phoenix, Arizona, and the city, the members of the city who have been able to evacuate have done so. It's so hot that emergency services are suspended. You can't really be outside for too long safely. And these two children are taking care of their heat-stricken parents when a man arrives at the door claiming his wife is injured and needs to be let in to take care of them. And it's sort of the tension of the back and forth of whether or not they can trust the man.
It was amazing. I mean, honestly, it was like, I felt like I was watching like Bird Box or something. It was like, you know, it was really amazing because the stakes were so high from the very beginning. And the irony about it, Nate, is that I'm sure you're aware that, you know, in your neighboring state in California, we just had the hottest day on record in the world ever. And it just felt almost so close to something that could actually happen. And it felt so real. And I thought, my goodness, really could happen. So which leads me to say, where did the inspiration come for you in creating this project?
The inspiration comes from the fact that it very possibly could be happening in our lifetimes. I came across a few, I've read up on it, but there was one article in particular that I found that was about what it called climate apartheid. And it's about how as the planet heats up, more and more developed cities are going to feel the pressure of that. And like the rolling blackouts that we've felt in California, even just this week, that will become more commonplace to the point that people who can afford to leave and migrate are going to do so, but that's going to pick up prices in those areas, in those safer regions, and it's going to create a sort of split between classes. And so what interested me is like, what does that look like while that's in transition? I didn't want to make a post-apocalyptic movie, but I wanted it to be like, what does that middle area look like for people who can't afford to protect themselves?
Yeah, I mean, we both, we live in hot states, and the idea, we know climate change is an absolute real thing. And it was so devastating to kind of see these young siblings, seeing their parents, out of action due to the heat. And again, the stakes were so high, and I was so scared for these kids, and the whole thing that you created, and the fact that you kind of created this, it was almost what we didn't know that was scary that you put out there that was brilliant to us. I do want to talk about, because you did center around these two siblings, and I thought they were brilliant. How was the casting process for you?
The casting was first of all, those kids were outstanding. Stephanie had never done work on camera before.
What?
And that was her first. She had done some theater, like local theater, but so our producer Matt Sefik is also a casting director in the Southeast. I met him working on the same show, and that's sort of where that's where we were able to reach out to other places. So the casting process was very I guess it was just very official compared to what I'm used to, which is usually just me sending out my own casting call. But she came from New Jersey, and Mikey came from somewhere, not Phoenix, but somewhere in Arizona. And it was great. It was tough. It was sad that I couldn't meet them until the day before we shot, because we were all traveling to the same city.
So you didn't meet them until the day that you... Wow.
Yeah, I don't even think we emailed or anything. I think we saw the auditions and met them at a bagel shop the day before and just got to set and practiced as much as we could that day.
Is that for you? Okay, that's interesting though. It's like, was that kind of scary for you? Obviously, you'd seen them obviously rehearse, but was that for you? I mean, especially when you want to make, young people feel comfortable and set and everything.
Yeah, I think that was the thing, especially working with kids. It's you want to build a rapport as much as possible and make sure that they're comfortable because it's I was intimidated stepping on the set, because it was the biggest thing that I had done. I can imagine, they were even more so. So we were a little nervous going into it. But as soon as we ran the first rehearsal, it was like, oh, they're pros. They know exactly. And all my worry fell away pretty quickly.
Well, I'm also, fascinated too, because, when you're as a director, kind of how are you quite hands-on? Like, how are you with them? Like when you're trying to get, I mean, the stakes are high in this film, so do you, how do you kind of, obviously you were rehearsing, what's your kind of process in working, with your actors in that respect?
I usually like to not really give much instruction on the first few, like in the rehearsal or the first few takes, unless they have questions, and just kind of let them do what comes out naturally and adjust that. Because I think that's the best way to get a real natural performance is to adjust what they do on their own rather than give them a list of things to do. Again, especially with kids, I think. And, and if it feels like I'll try to be encouraging while giving those adjustments as much as possible. The compliment sandwich is that's a big one for me. Lead with something nice, then give them the note and then say another compliment at the end. That was sort of
the compliment sandwich is such an important thing. I always know as the teacher sandwich as well. Like that's such a really important thing, especially, when you were, young actor or actress. So I love that you did that. What I loved as well is that you literally created this atmosphere. Like everything was really, really hot. Like, I mean, I was just getting hot watching it. Like it was, you created this atmosphere that was great. What kind, I mean, obviously, there's certain things that you can do to kind of create and make that, but like, certainly the way that it looked and the way that it felt, you really felt this, very humid experience. How was it creating the whole set? Because I know the majority of it was obviously in one room. What was that experience like, finding locations and the set and all that sort of stuff?
So they built that set for us. Again, we didn't see it until the day we prepped and we were dressing it.
Wow.
Because we did this through a program called Indie Grants, which I mentioned at the festival, but so we were at the film school out in South Carolina in Charleston. So a lot of students, it was a student class would build the set. So I sketched up terribly on this like lined paper, the rough idea that I had of the layout. I was like, please make this make sense. And they did that. But building and then the colors of the walls was a big thing. Like it was that sort of burnt orange, which is true to the region of Phoenix, but it also made it feel that hot. Like I think that was contributed. And Drew, our DP, I mean, he did an amazing job. We brought him a lookbook of movies like Sunshine and Florida Project and other movies that were kind of similar in that atmosphere, and he just kind of made it happen.
Yeah, no, it really was. Now, obviously, I mean, I think I commend you on not meeting your actors or your set or your crew or everything until like the day before, which must have been daunting for you. But aside from that, what were some of the biggest challenges you kind of faced during production or maybe in post-production?
On the day, it was pretty smooth. We didn't really run into any big problems. Like the biggest problem was the smoke. We had a smoke machine, just hold that ambience, and it set off the smoke alarm, which by law we had to evacuate for 2 hours. So we lost 2 hours of the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, of our last day. And we were already pretty tight because we shut the whole thing in 2 days.
Wow.
And it was, we wound up having to like lose some shots, combine shots, like trying to work on the fly was probably a big challenge. And then in post, it was just money. We had to find people who were willing to work for less because it's expensive. Post is just really expensive. And
Post is expensive. Do not underestimate post. I think most people have a lot of focus on production and they don't realize how much post can be. So you definitely got to get some favors along the way as well, I'm sure. Listen, I was in it. Like I forgot it's certain films that you're just in it and you almost feel like you're almost there, which is kind of scary. And I felt like I was there and my heart was beating fast during these moments. And I felt so sorry for these kids. And then it felt horrible because you start thinking this could be a reality. This actually could be happening. This could be going on. What's the reaction been like? We obviously love having your film again at New Filmmakers LA. What's the reaction been in sharing it with people and film festivals, etc.?
It's been positive. This is our first screening. This is the first time we've gotten in. We will be in a few more festivals this year, but this is the first one this year. We did a screening in South Carolina, which I wasn't able to be at in an actual theater, and our producer sent us a video of everyone, and there were audible gasps at that last moment, which was very cool to hear. I love that, and yeah, I mean the feedback's been really positive. We're still just getting started though, so there's time.
Well, speaking of, yes, of all the short films that I've experienced in, I don't know how many years at New Filmmakers and all the interviews, you left us with one of the biggest cliffhangers. And I literally had in my notes, no, please don't end here. No, I was like literally in it. And I was like, please, this is not fair. So well done to you for making me feel like that. And I think our audience were also in gas because they wanted more as well. So what is next for you? Is there any room to extend Sweatbox? Because I just was left like, please give me some more.
Yeah, we do. We have a feature that's kind of
yes.
why we shot the short. We wanted to sort of use it as a proof of concept that still stands on its own. The story's a little different, but yeah, we're still obviously working on it until it passes, but that's
amazing.
What we're trying to do.
It's a great, I know, Nate, honestly, it's a really fantastic idea. And it's really great when you've made a film as well that is, you know, it's a taster of what the movie could look like as a feature. And it's really nice to share, you know, as you're pitching things or bringing more people in to sort of understand what, you know, this is an idea of what, you know, what the feature could look like. So again, I love that you had that in mind, but it's great as an audience member to be like, I need more of this. Like, please give me a feature. So that's great.
I love that. Thank you.
You know, what did you kind of also, I mean, you know, obviously as well as entertaining us, I mean, there's kind of a very sort of serious note to this as well, is that, you know, we're not that far off from, you know, experiencing, you know, extremely high temperatures. We're already getting them now. Kind of what did you want your audience to take from your film?
I think just awareness of the fact that I mean, to me, things have become politicized that shouldn't have been. Yeah. I think seeing the faces and seeing how like we studied a lot and like read up a lot on like what the issues that lower income homes are going to face as this grows worse, and tried to actually portray that and how it sort of don't turn on each other, I guess, is the message, which is what these people have done in this story. Is they've sort of their trust is, and to me they didn't do this to themselves, and I think that's something that we need to be aware of.
Well, we're already seeing even during these times what, you know, what humans can be like and how we react to certain things of what we're kind of going through. So, you know, and, you know, sadly, if we don't get our things together, we're not too far away from something that could be quite tragic, and it's already happening. So I'm glad you brought awareness to that, as well as entertaining us as well. You know, I do love your style, and I love what you put us through, and it's always exciting. But I just wanted to finally finish, you know, maybe from something you've learned from this film, or if you as a filmmaker, just any piece of advice you could share with our audience for those people that kind of want to follow in the journey. And particularly actually maybe an interest of people that want to make a short film to kind of eventually make a feature film version as well. It could be interesting.
I think that, yeah, that this is what I learned on my last one, is make sure that if you do have a bigger picture, you have, you know, if you have a feature you want to do, I suggest making sure that the piece can stand on its own as its own piece, because you're more likely to be seen. People want to screen it, you know. If something feels incomplete, it's less likely to get attention. That's probably my biggest advice, is be okay with straying from the feature concept if it serves your short story better, because it's just a pitch, you know, and you can always change it later.
I love that you mentioned that, because your film did stand really well on its own. Like, it was a perfect short film. You know, but I enjoyed the characters. I wanted more, but yeah, it's right. Cause you know, some people, if they're thinking of the feature, they kind of make an incomplete short, if you know what I mean, you know? So I love that you mentioned that, cause that's really solid advice. Well, listen, I can't wait for the feature version, and you know, we're here for you to support you on that journey, but please keep making more movies for us in the meantime, but congratulations on Sweatbox, Nate. Really, really brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Danny.
Awesome.